What I've learned is that as humans, each of us have a worldview, and that worldview is usually formed in great part by the culture we grow up in. When we hear information that contradicts our worldview, social psychologists call the resulting insecurity cognitive dissonance. So now we've lost our sense of security. We are starting to feel vulnerable.
When your beliefs are challenged or when two beliefs are inconsistent, cognitive dissonance is created. When your beliefs are challenged, fear and anxiety are created. In response to that, our psychological defenses kick in, and they protect us from these emotions. Denial, which is probably the most primitive psychological defense, is the one most likely to kick in when our beliefs are challenged.
What some of us will tend to do is deny the evidence that's coming our way and stick to the original story, the official story, and to try to regain our equilibrium in that way. Another thing we can do is decide to look at the conflicting evidence and be sincere and be open-minded and look at both sides of the issue and then make up our own mind.
If we can think of our worldview as being sort of our mental and emotional home, I think all of us will do just about anything to defend our homes, to defend our families, and so I see that with people, and I saw that with myself when my brother tried to talk with me about it, of don't mess with me, don't mess with my home, don't mess with my comfort with how things are.
But these are beliefs. They are not scientific facts. But these beliefs do keep us from looking at the empirical evidence.
You have empirical people who will simply say, look at the evidence, and if it's convincing, I will change my mind. Other people are paradigmatic people. They have a paradigm. They say, this is the way the world works, and I'm convinced this is the right way the world works, so I don't need to look at the evidence. It's paradigmatic. And then there is a third type of person that we often call wishful thinkers. I call it wishful and fearful thinking. So they simply will not believe something that they fear to be the truth. And I found that maybe to be the most powerful factor of people rejecting and not even entertaining the evidence.
So whenever we say, I refuse to believe, we can be sure that the evidence that's coming our way is not bearable and that it's conflicting with our worldview much too much.
Denial protects people from this kind of anxiety.
As I thought about all of these responses, I realized that what is common to every one of them is the emotion of fear. People are afraid of being ostracized, they're afraid of being alienated, they're afraid of being shunned, they're afraid of their lives being inconvenienced, they'd have to change their lives, they're afraid of being confused, they're afraid of psychological deterioration, they're afraid of feeling helpless and vulnerable, and they're afraid that they won't be able to handle the feelings that are coming up. None of us want to feel helpless and vulnerable, so we want to defend ourselves. And the way we often do that is with anger. So then we become angry. And when we become angry, then we become indignant. We become offended. We want to ridicule the messenger. We want to pathologize the messenger. And we want to censor the messenger.
The problem is that you think that believing something that feels good, that may ultimately be false, doesn't have any negative consequences.
No. I completely disagree with that. I completely disagree with that.
Completely disagree with what? The things that I just reiterated that you had previously said?
Nothing negative. No, I said there are few exceptions where believing something false may have no negative effects on your life and may even have positive effects on your life.
Name two.
If you believe in that there's some afterlife when you die, not necessarily anything specific, but if you believe in some afterlife, when you're on your deathbed, you might be a little more happy than if you believed that there was no afterlife. That's
Okay.
one small example.
Here's the thing. You can pick any false belief and construct a scenario in which it produces a positive effect. Heroin makes people feel really good for a while. Believing that there's an afterlife may make you a little more peaceful on your deathbed. My question is, that's not the only effect that that belief has. First of all, every false belief allows you the predisposition to accept more false beliefs. We don't have to go near the slippery slope. My thing is, the belief in an afterlife is fundamentally immoral because it cheapens this life. My belief that when I'm dead puts me in a position where I need to live right and do things right the first time. Where if I don't treat somebody right, I don't get a second chance in an afterlife to make up for it. I need to make amends for it now. And dealing with reality on those terms that are based on truth and the best conclusions we can make based on the best evidence available is demonstrably a better way to live. Having your internal worldview more consistent with reality is the key. Not usually, always. Yeah. Because we're talking about decision making. If I'm going to make decisions that affect what I do in reality, then the more consistent my internal view of reality is with actual reality, the better. And the more divergent my internal view is from reality, the worse.
And let's be honest, Ryan, the only examples you're able to come up with these exceptions that you want to exist are simple, like, emotional placebo effects. Oh, but it would make a person feel better to entertain this belief for a little while. You know, sure. Whereas, listen to what Matt's describing. Matt's describing things that have lifetime consequences in terms of how you interact with your community, with one another, with people in your lives, how you behave, how you take responsibility for your actions and the things that you do. If something you do ends up causing harm, you have to deal with that. You have to take that responsibility now. All of these things, build upon one another. And you keep wanting to say yes. Well, that's only the case usually, but the only examples that you're able to give us don't seem to be terribly meaningful.
99.999% of the time.
Okay, and if you're only concerned about being 99% accurate in your view of reality, well, that's your problem.
Yeah.
Some of us would prefer to get as close to 100 as possible, and the way to do that is to care whether or not your beliefs are true, and to never say, I'm okay with making an exception for this one because it feels good.
Like the saying, ignorance is bliss.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss.
But see, there you go.
I agree.
There you go. That's the only example you're able to come up with, is that, it'll put a little doe-eyed, empty-headed smile on a person's face to believe something that's false. It's just the emotional appeal you're defending this with. You have really nothing else to defend it with. And since you, again, admit, well, okay, maybe it's 99.99999, then why do you really care about the 0.000001? I mean, just go ahead and accept the common sense that, yes, having a worldview that's consistent with reality is best. In all cases, as much as, it's where whatever exceptions might exist are so minute as to not make a difference. And therefore really shouldn't be thought of as existing. I mean...
I don't know what else to tell you, Ryan, and we've gone for like 25 minutes or so at this call. Okay. And the thing is that I think we're as close to an understanding as we can, and that is that you've said that you would mostly like to have your view consistent with reality, but you're willing to make exceptions because you don't see the harm in it. And I do. And someday I hope you do. Yeah. And I hope the whole world decides to care more about whether or not their view of reality is accurate.
But you know what? I found out a long time ago that most people did not like the truth. Does that mean I'm perfect? Hell no. I got plenty of flaws. But whenever I do something stupid or wrong, I'm just going to say, yeah, I did. Now, so what? But when you start trying to cover up and make excuses up for your idols or your liars, this is what started pissing me off. No matter what subject you talk about. And you refuse to acknowledge the truth when it comes forth.